Part 5 had some great villains, but I felt that those loyal to Diavolo were overshadowed by those in the execution team, who took their loyalty to a whole new level in comparison. That isn't to say that Diavolo's assassins were bad though, as the Green Day and Oasis arc show us the best they have to offer. We're used to being introduced to villains we're supposed to hate, with animal cruelty in JoJo having the sole purpose of getting us riled up to seeing their demise. Cioccolata takes the idea of evil we're used to in this series to a whole other level. The build-up we experience from learning about his character makes it clear that this is one of the most deranged villains we've met up to this point, and by extension reminds us of just how evil Diavolo can be, with Secco and Cioccolata being the final minor antagonists of the part. In a part filled with ability-based stands that work well with setup and preparation, Green Day is the exact opposite, essentially being a huge wide-area nuke, completely destroying everything in its wake. A very fitting stand for a user as mentally unhinged as him in my opinion. Seeing the destruction and death Diavolo is willing to allow to attack the protagonists is a good reminder of how much him and his underlings need to be taken down, as their actions are truly irreparable. This fight inflicts the kind of terror expected from one of the final battles, as the stakes become higher than ever. The arc has a frantic nature to it due to the protagonists always being on the run as they tried to get to higher ground, hindering the slower methodical approach to fights the reader may expect. This is further experienced due to Secco hunting down Bucciolati and Mista as they're moving, being always hidden due to his ability which keeps the situation tense. As this breakneck pace is kept throughout, the battle manages to be one of the most engaging yet as a result, being unpredictable throughout, partially due to Bucciolati's situation. This reminder of Bucciolati's mortality or lack thereof really hits home the fact that we're nearing the end game and his story is coming to a close. Despite all the chaos, we get treated to a heartfelt moment between him and Giorno, which is nice to see considering how frantic most of the part is, and is extremely touching given the circumstances. Another arc in JoJo that follows a similar structure to this one is Blue Hawaii in the sense of civilian casualties and the cast being on the run. I won't spoil anything for those who haven't read Part 8, but I think part of the reason the Green Day and Oasis arc works well is due to the fact that the protagonists have a clear goal to move towards. This isn't a case of wandering around trying to find a stand user, as the group have to keep moving towards higher ground, so a sense of progression can be felt from their current location. A common complaint that's always heard about arcs is that they're seemingly detached from the overall story, which is why I really appreciate how the mold ability is figured out by the cast. Tying it into the transport used for the gang to arrive in Rome makes the transition from one act to another seem really natural, helping to tie them together under one overarching story as we near Diavolo. As the chaos continues, we eventually reach the point where Cioccolata is cornered, giving us an extremely memorable ending to his character. This feeling of disgust emanating from his acts continues through the arc as we see Giorno's frustration, which is very interesting considering how he normally restrains himself emotionally. When Giorno finally wins his fight, he starts unleashing the bad side of his personality, which is so satisfying to see. He's been called boring and emotionless, but here we get to see him channel his inner Dio through mocking Cioccolata and the false sense of hope he gave him, which is one of the cruelest things he's done. How ironic that Giorno himself is called Twisted by the man who used to torture his medical patients. It really drives the dark side of Giorno home. 7 pages. 7 whole pages of Cioccolata getting his shit kicked in. For reference, the infamous Steely Dan beatdown is only 3. Giorno is pissed, and this sets a tone that's needed as we walk into the final battle, and I honestly don't think it could have been done any better. Well, perhaps Cioccolata could have been defeated after Secco to keep this momentum going, but the Secco fight is a good one in itself. I'm always a fan of when enemies are underestimated, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how competent the Oasis user was. It reminded me of the Pesci Prosciutto situation, and in more ways than one. Both arcs risked civilians' lives, but Pesci and Prosciutto have a far healthier relationship than the two antagonists we're dealing with here. While not intentional, dealing with these two villains reminded me that as flawed as the execution team were, their goal was one I could support, being as valid as Giorno's. And that just about sums up why I like this arc. Interesting powers with a good synergy between the users and one of the best beatdowns of the series. Thanks for watching folks, I'll see you later.